everyone, welcome back. Going with the previous video I did, which was about the bombings. Was it necessary? It was taken from the operations room. The operations room. So we're going to do this video. So let's do it. This goes with I'm doing Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer came out yesterday, so I'm kind of on a Oppenheimer kick right now. Sorry, I got coffee brewing.
This video is sponsored by CuriosityStream, but more on that later. 3 B-29 superfortresses of the 509th Composite Group lift off from the island of Tinian at 2:45 AM. The three aircraft begin a long 6-hour journey towards the Japanese home islands. The mood is tense aboard Colonel Paul Tibbets' aircraft, named the Enola Gay after his...
This might be a mistake, but...
Enola Gay after his mother. The date is the 6th of August 1945.
Enola Gay is named after his mother. Interesting.
And the Enola Gay is carrying an atomic bomb, a weapon that will change the world forever. 8 years after Japan launched its unprovoked invasion of China in 1937, the Pacific Theatre has raged on. Despite the deaths of tens of millions in what is now the Second World War, the end of the conflict doesn't appear to be near. Japan's empire has been slowly whittled away by the combined might of the Allied powers, but she refuses to surrender even in the face of certain defeat. At the battles of Iwo Jima and Okinawa, Japanese forces are hopelessly outnumbered and outgunned, yet fight nearly to the last man while inflicting over 77,000 casualties on the Allies. The fighting in Burma has been equally savage. Now, the Allies have begun preparations for Operation Downfall, the invasion of Japan itself. However, many in Allied high command are appalled by the casualty estimates for the invasion, which range from 297,000 to over 1 million. Fanatical kamikazes are expected to take a massive toll on the invaders, while the entirety of Japanese society will be mobilized to repel the attack. Upwards of...
As would if Japan was going to attack America. Civilians are going to be ready to fight. It's as any country would.
The 5 million Japanese...
As any civilian of any country would, I mean to say. You're going to fight.
Citizens are expected to die in the invasion. With such a heavy cost associated with Operation Downfall, many, including new US President Harry Truman, have looked for other ways to end the war quickly without the need for an invasion. The United States may just have a way. On the 13th of August 1942, the first offices of the Manhattan Engineering District opened at 270 Broadway in New York City. Under the command of General Leslie Groves, the Manhattan Project, as it came to be known, had one goal: the creation of the most powerful weapon ever. Developing pre-war British nuclear research, under the supervision of General Groves and theoretical physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer, the Manhattan Project grew to employ over 600,000 predominantly Americans, Britons and Canadians, working feverishly to harness the power of the atom. On the 16th of July 1945, the first atomic bomb is successfully tested in Trinity, New Mexico. Armed with this knowledge, Truman, along with British Prime Minister Winston Churchill and Chinese nationalist leader Chiang Kai-shek, issue the Potsdam Declaration on the 26th of July 1945, calling for Japan to surrender unconditionally, or it will face prompt and utter destruction. The Japanese government ignores the ultimatum and continues to fight on. Desperate to avoid prolonging the war, Truman gives final approval to use the atomic bomb against a Japanese city on the 2nd of August. The day prior, the bomb, codenamed Little Boy, is fully assembled and ready for use. General Groves and a targeting committee have already narrowed down the list of potential targets to 4. The cities of Kokura, Nagasaki, Niigata and Hiroshima, which have gone relatively unscathed by bombing so far in the war. An hour before Tibbets took off, 3 weather aircraft lifted off from Tinian to reconnoitre the potential targets. Niigata has been ruled out due to weather concerns, leaving the 3 B-29s to report back on conditions over the other cities. Hiroshima and its over 300,000 inhabitants has already been chosen as the primary target, weather permitting. It is an industrial and transit hub for the enemy's war effort, while also serving as the headquarters of the Japanese Second Army. 43,000 Japanese troops are stationed in the city, which also boasts a large port. Furthermore, Hiroshima's flat topography will hopefully maximise the destructive potential of the bomb. A B-29 nicknamed Straight Flush is dispatched to the city to determine whether conditions are good enough for a bombing run. At 5:55 am Tinian time, Enola Gay arrives over the island of Iwo Jima and circles at 8,000 feet to wait for the two escorting superfortresses to catch up. But first, a quick word from this week's sponsor, CuriosityStream, a subscription streaming service that offers thousands of award-winning and original documentary films, shows and series that you can't find. Has a critical role to play in the mission. Enola Gay will deliver the weapon.
It's my coffee brewing, sorry. It's 8:11 a.m. Saturday. And I need some coffee, even though I've already had a pot of coffee this morning.
Gay will deliver the weapon, while the Great Artiste, piloted by Major Charles Sweeney, is carrying blast measurement instrumentation to measure the yield of the explosion. Necessary Evil, piloted by Captain George Marquardt, will observe and photograph the results of the mission. When all three aircraft have rendezvoused over Iwo Jima, the superfortresses continue towards Japan while awaiting the weather report. An hour and 20 minutes later, at 7:15 am, Second Lieutenant Maurice Jepson climbs into the Enola Gay's bomb bay and pulls 3 green safety plugs out of the bomb, which had been put there to prevent stray electrical current from prematurely detonating the weapon. He replaces the plugs with new red ones to arm the bomb before informing Colonel Tibbets that Little Boy is ready to use. Tibbets pressurizes the aircraft and begins a slow climb to 32,700 feet, while the crew put on parachutes and flak suits. All 3 reconnaissance aircraft arrive over their targets precisely at 8:09 am. Straight Flush is the first to report back 15 minutes later, sending a coded message to the Enola Gay, which reads, "Cloud cover less than 3/10 at all altitudes. Advice, bomb primary." Tibbets once again turns on the intercom and informs his crew, "It's Hiroshima." A one-word message is sent back to the squadron security chief on Iwo Jima, "Primary." The Japanese defences in the city sound an air raid warning, but the residents on the ground are hardly concerned about a single B-29. American aircraft have overflown the city plenty of times without attacking. The warning is lifted soon after, and life in Hiroshima goes on as normal.
Oh no.
At 9:05 am, the Enola Gay's navigator, Major Theodore Van Kirk, informs Colonel Tibbets that they are 10 minutes from the target. The aircraft is flying at 31,000.
So the Americans had flown over and not done anything, so I'm guessing that was probably just like reconnaissance flights. But it's happened so much that they're not used to it. I mean, they're used to it in a way of, okay, it was nothing. Oh, this is, yeah, they really weren't expecting it. Oh.
1,060 feet when the city comes into view, and Tibbets prepares for his bombing run. Cloud cover is at just 10%, far better than the minimum of 30% visibility required for the mission. At 9:12 am, control over the aircraft is handed over to the bombardier, Major Thomas Farabee, and Tibbets orders his crew to don dark Polaroid glasses to protect their eyes from the flash of the explosion. A Radio Hiroshima operator reports 3 aircraft in the skies above the city, and another air raid warning goes out. However, the warning is too late to allow any interceptors to scramble, and Japanese anti-aircraft batteries cannot hit the superfortresses at such high altitude. The aiming point for the bomb, the Ioi Bridge, comes into view at 9:14 am. Farabee calls out, "I've got it." The bomber continues to advance on its target. Little Boy has been set to airburst over the Ioi Bridge in order to cause the most damage possible.
Why are they calling it the IOA Bridge? A-I-O-I.
"58 seconds later, he shouts, 'Bomb away,' and the 9,700-pound little boy atomic bomb drops free from the bomb bay doors. Colonel Tibbets immediately throws the B-29 into a 155-degree hard turn to get away from the blast zone as quickly as possible. At the same time, escorting B-29, the Great Artiste drops instrument-bearing parachutes which will measure the impact of the explosion before also turning away. On the ground, Hiroshima's streets are packed with early morning rush hour traffic, and its residents have no idea of the impending catastrophe about to befall them. In the preceding days, American aircraft had dropped leaflets warning civilians to evacuate the city, but these are mostly ignored. An internal radar system tracks the bomb's descent as it plummets to Earth, travelling over 5 miles from the release point. At 1,968 feet above the ground, the radar altimeter and barometric sensors initiate the detonation. A gun primer launches a hollow uranium projectile at 980 feet per second into a uranium mass, causing a supercritical chain reaction that achieves nuclear fission in 0.15 microseconds. After 43 seconds of falling through the air, at 8:16 AM and 2 seconds Hiroshima time, the bomb explodes. After just 1 second, a 277,000 degree centigrade fireball, measuring 900 feet in diameter, instantly incinerates any human or animal caught outside near ground zero. Bronze statues, roof tiles, and even granite stones melt in the intense heat. A shockwave travelling at 984 miles per hour demolishes tens of thousands of buildings in the blink of an eye, while multiple firestorms erupt instantly throughout the city. 80,000 people are killed in mere seconds.
Wow.
Aboard the Enola Gay, Technical Sergeant George Caron is in the tail gunner position when the bomb explodes. He can see with his own eyes the shockwave approaching the aircraft and yells out a warning. The shockwave buffets the superfortress, followed seconds later by another one. Caron snaps the only official photographs of the explosion while describing what he sees to Colonel Tibbets. A column of smoke rising fast, with a fiery red core. A bubbling mass, purple-grey in colour, like a mass of bubbling molasses. The mushroom is spreading out. It's maybe a mile or two wide and a half a mile high. He would later characterise what he saw as a peep into hell.
Yeah.
The Enola Gay sends a message back to Tinian. Clear-cut, successful in all aspects. Conditions normal in airplane following delivery. Proceeding to base. Their mission complete, all 3 aircraft begin the long journey back to the Marianas, while what is left of Hiroshima continues to burn. Hours after the destruction of Hiroshima, President Truman issues a statement announcing the use of the atomic bomb. He concludes his speech by giving Japan another ultimatum. If they do not now accept our terms, they may expect a rain of ruin from the air, the like of which has never been seen on this earth. In Tokyo, the Japanese cabinet meets on the 8th of August and debates whether to surrender. Foreign Minister Togo Shigenori suggests that they should accept the terms of the Potsdam Declaration, but the cabinet cannot come to a unanimous decision. Prime Minister Kantaro Suzuki proclaims that the war will go on, but the Foreign Minister asks Japan's ambassador to the Soviet Union to persuade the Soviets to mediate negotiations. Instead, the ambassador is informed by Soviet Foreign Minister Molotov that the USSR is now in a state of war with Japan, effective the next day. On the 9th of August, Soviet forces invade Japanese-occupied Manchuria.
Okay, so option 2 then is off the board. You can't negotiate with them. So now you got to go back to negotiating with the U.S. Man, that was kind of their trump card in a way. We have this to rely on. We can always have USSR, Russia, Soviet Union, whatever the correct term is back then. We can always rely on them to kind of step in the way and just, no, wait. Can't do that now. And those two have some beef. They have history. Not pleasant history. Not like hugs and handshakes. These guys, this war. Yeah.
Meanwhile, a second atomic bomb, codenamed Fat Man, is ready for use. With no sign from the Japanese government, the decision has been made to attack another city. This time, the primary target will be Kokura, and the secondary will be Nagasaki. The mission begins similarly to the attack on Hiroshima, as 2 weather reconnaissance B-29s are sent to scout the targets early in the morning. Enola Gay.
They're probably, now the Japanese people, they see that bomber going over, they're probably thinking, okay, we should probably take cover, because we've already heard about some bomb last time, so let's just, why risk it?
Is back in the air to gauge conditions over Kokura, while Major Charles Sweeney will pilot the delivery aircraft, a B-29 named Boxcar. However, during pre-flight checks it had been discovered that the fuel pump for one of the reserve tanks had malfunctioned, which significantly cut the amount of time the B-29 can remain in the air. After a short discussion, the decision was made to continue with the mission. At 3:47 AM, Boxcar and its support aircraft, the Great Artiste and Big Stink, lifted off from Tinian and made their way towards the rendezvous point at Yakushima Island.
Gotta love the names they're coming up with. The Big Stink, the Great Artiste.
Unlike the mission 3 days prior, this operation is far from smooth. 2 hours into the flight, a red warning light on Fat Man's fuse monitor unexpectedly starts flashing, which indicates that some of the bomb's fuses have been activated. Fearing the bomb is about to detonate on its own, weaponeer Frederick Ashworth goes to investigate and discovers that ground technicians accidentally misaligned 2 circuit switches. Ashworth quickly solves the issue, and every man on the aircraft breathes a sigh of relief.
The good part is, it's not a grenade, where if the grenade goes off you hope you don't get hit by shrapnel. You got to hope that it didn't destroy something on the plane where you can still land in a safe area. If that's an atomic bomb on there and that goes off, you're just like, yeah, so I was thinking that we could, oh, there's a trip on the sensor. And that's what it would be like. You're just sitting there, and next thing you know, that's it. You didn't feel anything. You didn't hear anything. That's the only bright spot if that bomb went off on that plane. That was it.
When Boxcar arrives at Yakushima Island at 9:10 AM, the Great Artiste soon joins, but not the Big Stink. Despite being told to wait no longer than 15 minutes, Major Sweeney circles for 40 minutes, awaiting the final B-29. However, the Big Stink has got lost in dense clouds and will not make it to the rendezvous point. After receiving word from the Enola Gay that weather above Kokura offers enough visibility for a bomb run, Sweeney decides to proceed with the mission and sets course for Kokura at 9:50 AM. Fat Man is armed, and the crew prepares themselves for the climactic moment ahead. Meanwhile, weather conditions begin to deteriorate over Kokura just as Enola Gay has left the area. Worse yet, Japanese defences are put on alert after the departure of the weather aircraft, which will make the mission even more difficult.
Yeah.
Boxcar and the Great Artiste arrive over Kokura at 10:44 to find the city shrouded in clouds and dark smoke. The aircraft initiate a bombing run, but the bombardier, Captain Kermit K. Bien, reports to Sweeney that he can't find the aim point through the clouds and smoke. Sweeney has been strictly ordered to bomb visually rather than using unreliable radar guidance, so the placement can be as close to the target as possible. Both aircraft break off the bombing run and try again, but Bien again can't find the aim point. Smoke from an American firebombing attack on the nearby city of Yawata is obscuring the target, and the Japanese industrial factories in the area are producing thick black smoke. The commander of the USAAF's 21st Bomber Command, Major General Curtis LeMay, has escalated the firebombing of Japanese cities following the attack on Hiroshima. Although the renewed strategic bombing campaign is intended to bludgeon the enemy into surrendering, it is now working against this mission. By the third run, Boxcar is running out of fuel after spending 45 minutes above Kokura, and enemy fighters have been detected on radar. The third run also fails, and Sweeney has a decision to make. If he continues waiting for conditions to improve over Kokura, he risks a run-in with Japanese interceptors. He could cancel the mission and make an emergency landing on Okinawa with Fat Man still aboard, or he could continue to the secondary target of Nagasaki, which is 95 miles away. At 11:32 am, Sweeney decides to make for Nagasaki, along with the great artiste. The city of Kokura has been spared from the destruction thanks in part to the delay over Yakushima Island, spawning the Japanese expression Kokura luck to describe the lucky avoidance of great misfortune. Now it is Nagasaki which is in danger. The city of Nagasaki is one of the most important industrial centres in the Japanese Empire. 2 Mitsubishi factories operate within the city limits, including the Mitsubishi torpedo plant, which mass produces the potent Long Lance torpedo. Additionally, the city of 286,000 people is home to a major port area with shipyards vital to the Japanese war effort. It takes just 34 minutes for the superfortresses to arrive at Nagasaki, but Major Sweeney is disappointed to see that weather conditions have also deteriorated here. After deliberating with the crew for 2 minutes, Sweeney decides to make one pass over the target. If Bombardier Bien fails to locate the target, the bombing will be aborted. At 11:58 am, Boxcar begins its final bombing run. At this precise moment, the Japanese Imperial Supreme War Council is meeting in Tokyo to discuss a conditional surrender to the Allies. The cloud cover is still too thick over Nagasaki, forcing Captain Bien to navigate using radar. He scans the city through the bomb site before spotting a small break in the clouds 2 miles north of the ideal aim point. Knowing it's now or never, Bien calls out "bombs away" before immediately correcting himself, "bomb away." Fat Man falls free, and Boxcar along with the great artiste flee from the target. Unlike Little Boy, which was an enriched uranium gun-fired weapon, Fat Man is a plutonium implosion bomb. After falling for 43 seconds, the barometric sensors inside the bomb trigger the fission process. Detonators on the surface of a sphere of high explosives are fired simultaneously to produce inward pressure on a subcritical mass of plutonium, releasing a massive amount of energy. At 11:02 Nagasaki time, the bomb detonates at an altitude of about 1,650 feet in a small valley within the city limits. The blast razes much of the area to the ground in seconds, killing approximately 40,000 people instantly. 3 shockwaves radiate out from the hypocenter, jolting Boxcar and the great artiste, which are flying south towards Okinawa. Since the bomb has exploded in a valley, much of Nagasaki has been shielded from the worst effects of the blast, in contrast to the flat plain of Hiroshima. However, 44% of the city has been destroyed in the attack. 28 minutes later, the Japanese War Cabinet in Tokyo receives word that another atomic bomb has hit Nagasaki. Despite losing 2 engines to fuel starvation, Boxcar will make a successful emergency landing at Okinawa before returning to Tinian later that night. The Imperial War Council is stunned by the twin shocks of the Soviet declaration of war and the attack on Nagasaki. The realization that the United States has built up a stockpile of nuclear weapons has a powerful impact on many in the Japanese cabinet. President Truman announces the bombing to the American public and concludes his statement by threatening to use the bomb again. "We shall continue to use it until we completely destroy Japan's power to make war. Only a Japanese surrender will stop us." 5 days of tortuous negotiations proceed, in which the Imperial War Council goes back and forth on whether to accept the terms of the Potsdam Declaration. Finally, on the 14th of August, Emperor Hirohito announces to his cabinet that the war must end. "I do not wish my people to fall into deeper distress or destroy our culture," he tells them. "The time has come when we must bear the unbearable." Later that day, fanatical officers attempt a coup to stop the surrender, but their efforts fail. On the 15th of August 1945, Emperor Hirohito addresses the nation over the radio to announce that Japan has surrendered. The Second World War is over. The attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki have changed warfare. the United States has obliterated 2 major cities with the most powerful weapon ever used. According to a 1975 investigative report by the United Nations Non-Governmental Organizations Committee, between 100,000 and 140,000 people are killed in Hiroshima, while another 70,000 are killed in Nagasaki. Over 150,000 have been wounded, and many will suffer from the effects of radiation sickness for the rest of their lives. The vast majority of those who have perished are civilians. Colonel Paul Tibbets is awarded the Distinguished Service Cross after the bombings, and the 509th Composite Group will later be awarded an Air Force Outstanding Unit Award in 1999. The necessity and ethical responsibility of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki continues to be debated to this day, and will be explored on our sister channel, the Intel Report.
I did were the atomic bombings necessary, and I see both sides. I mean, I really can't. I'm right on the fence because I see both sides. I wish it wouldn't have happened. I understand why it did happen. Yeah. Well, anyways, like and subscribe. And until next time, have a good day, have a good night. Well, tell me what you think. Do you think it was necessary? Do you think if they kept firebombing Tokyo, if the U.S. kept firebombing, do you think it would have ended differently? Do you think that had the Soviets not gotten involved in terms of fighting, do you think that they could have had a hand in stopping the U.S. from at least dropping the second one? There's just so many possibilities. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and end this here. So, have a good day, have a good night.